Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker associate and team leader Kelly Fischer of Treasure Coast Sotheby's International Realty based out of Vero Beach, Florida. Kelly is a service-oriented real estate professional who has been servicing customers since 1994 and is the team leader of one of the leading real estate teams in Indian River County. With thousands of closed transactions representing both buyers and sellers, she and her team truly understand the ins and outs of today's market and are willing to tell you the truth about what it's going to take to strategically buy or sell in the Vero Beach, Florida area. She has been endorsed by several national radio, television, and financial celebrities as the agent of choice for her county. As she approaches 25 years in the real estate business, her commitment has never been stronger to serve their customers and clients with respect, integrity, and sometimes even a little humor mixed with love and compassion. She has been married for 22 years, and she and her husband, Ken, have 3 children. All right, with all that said, Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith. Happy to be here.
Kelly, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
Yes, it was definitely a stumble, Keith. It was an accident. I was working for a publishing company in the corporate office doing marketing and PR, and I had a terrible boss. I loved the company. It was a wonderful company, but the boss was atrocious. And just kind of circumstances led to a few days before my wedding, because of the stress, this was back in 1994, went into atrial fib and was hospitalized due to the stress. And after that, realized that it was time for a change. Was fortunate enough to go ahead with the wedding and the honeymoon and come back and said, I'm not going back to that job. So I pulled out a newspaper back in the day when we had newspapers and no internet, and saw an ad for real estate, called the office, met with the manager, and she basically said, real estate's a great career. You can make as much or as little. It's all up to you. And I said, I think I might like this. So signed up for real estate school, went and just hit the phones. That was basically my introduction was, here's a desk, here's a phone, get to work. And I've kind of been doing that ever since.
Yeah, that is certainly, I mean, some people get wake-up calls or things like that, but it sounded like yours. I mean, your body physically told you, like, okay, you can't keep doing this because it's just not going to work for us.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about what personal attributes or traits or qualities you think have most contributed to the success you've had in real estate?
Personal attributes probably came from my father, the work ethic, the desire to just always be on the go. And it was never about the money, though that's been a nice side benefit. It was always just doing the work. What do I have to do on a daily basis? Following a schedule, making the contact, and then it just developed over time as my business grew as, okay, now how do I add more layers of things and services that I can provide to the client to give them a good experience, and just the innovation and just the curiosity as far as what else is out there, what else can we offer, what else can we do. Frankly, I probably offer so much more than most agents do, which maybe is a little overboard sometimes and may cut into my bottom line, I think, but I just feel like the client deserves it. They put their trust in us. They hired us. So we really do try to give them everything we can that's available.
Excellent. And Kelly, do you think you could give our listeners an example of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Well, you know, I know that over the years, part of it has always been the willingness to do what other people aren't willing to do. So if that meant that I was in the office prospecting on the phone from, 5, 6 at night until 8 or 9 at night, or coming in on the weekends and prospecting. So while most people are out, birthday parties, this, that, having a good time, I always had certain expectations of myself that I wanted to make sure that I was able to deliver on the promises that I made to people, that I was going to achieve certain things. And, anytime they had any kind of award ceremonies, if I was not the one on top, I wanted to make sure I was going to get there, and that I was going to engage in the activities that got me to the top.
Excellent. That's great to have that driving force. Like you said, you look up there and you're like, all right, that's the spot I want to be in, and to keep striving for it. I think the other thing you pointed out too was having structure and routine to things, versus just some people, whether it's real estate or any career, they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Whereas you said, hey, this is the structure of it, routine. We follow it, and then when I want to achieve more, I look up to that and I strive to be the best I can be.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, if you have no direction, then there's no target, nowhere to land. And I was fortunate enough early in my career, well, I shouldn't say earlier. I wish it had been earlier than it actually was, but I got licensed in '94, and it wasn't until about 2002 that I actually hired a professional real estate coach, and that's what really put me on the path to where I am now, because before that, I was basically doing what everyone else was doing, 8, 10 deals a year, and thinking that was great. But, in hindsight, it was really not anything to talk about. So now, having been coached for the last several years and just the exposure you get through that kind of environment and the people you meet and the opportunities that come before you when you get around other agents of that level who are doing a lot of business and who are interested in the quality of the industry, it makes all the difference.
Absolutely, and I think we've seen that too a lot with this show. I believe, kind of as we talked a little bit earlier, we're up to like episode 87, and so we've talked to a lot of different real estate agents, and it seems like that's the common thread amongst the most successful is and to be able to hang around other people in that same environment to where you get to elevate your status. Where the old adage where you are a product of your environment. You become like the people you hang around.
Right. What is it they say, that your income is on line with the 5 people you spend the most time with, or something along those lines?
Yeah, I believe. I believe it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kelly, I guess with all success in life, not everything is easy. A lot of times, people have adversities and trials as they're making their way up different successful ladders. What were some of the adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
Well, I can say personally, probably the worst one was personally, and I know this is probably pretty common in the real estate industry, but I would say 5, 6 years ago, I came really, really close to getting divorced. My children wanted nothing to do with me because essentially, now in hindsight, of course, wrongly so, my focus was completely on the business. There was, even though it was like, hey, Erin's got a dance recital, you need to come. Okay, I went. James has a soccer game. Okay, I went. But other than that, I was not plugged into my family at all. And at the time, now they're getting older, so they can appreciate it, because now they go, well, this is great, because guess what? We go on these great vacations. My daughter goes to an amazing university. My son's going to go. They have a much better life now because of the sacrifices that I made and that they made back in those years. But it still was a lot of sacrifice and a lot of things, and I don't even think it was a conscious, hey, I'm going to do this. It's just kind of who I became, and I probably allowed it to get a little bit out of control. So just being aware of, balancing your life, I think, is really critical. But true balance, I think, is a myth.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's tough to try to find that happy medium, whereas, like you said, the kids and the family enjoy the benefits of what you're doing. But on the other side, you're not present for a lot of things. Like you said, you had to miss out because you were building the business and providing a life that was great for everybody, but you weren't always present for everything that they were being part of.
Yeah, and the good news was, the business was doing well enough that my husband was home being the mom. He was able to retire from his former career and be home and be the mom. So it wasn't like they were neglected or unloved or any of that. But it was hard, I think, for kids to make that distinction of, the switch between mom and dad, because like my daughter, I remember to this day, I probably still have it somewhere. It'll make me cry. But, I need a mom. I'm like, you have a mom. It's your dad,
Yeah.
And now it's like, she just came back from a study abroad in Italy for the past 4.5 months. And I'm like, you got to do that because of the things that I did when you were younger.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they get it, but it doesn't take back those years for us.
So Kelly, obviously, you had these adversities. You said that, potentially even your marriage could have suffered from a lot of these things and the trials that you came up against. So what kept you going despite these obstacles? Why didn't you give up?
Oh my gosh, what kept me going? It was almost like it was out of my control. It was just who I was. That's how deeply ingrained in my business. It's just my persona. I've been doing it for so long. I don't know anything else at this point. If someone today took away my real estate license, I don't know what I could do. It's just my passion. It's my love. It's my baby. It's what I do.
Well, from the sound of your work ethic, though, you'd probably find something and tear it up just like you did with real estate. But yes, I'm sure it wouldn't be fun to you to say, okay, you're done, you can't do real estate anymore today. But from the sounds of your, what you've built, you'd be able to figure something out if you had to.
I guess I'd figure it out.
So I guess kind of looking forward, assuming nobody's taking away your license, which hopefully that won't be the case, obviously. What's your vision for your business and your career, say, over the next 5 years?
It's funny because years ago I used to joke with another agent in my town who incidentally just had his 90th birthday this week, who's still working. And we used to joke, and I used to say, Dave, when are you going to retire? And he'd laugh, and he'd say, never. When are you going to retire? And I'd say, never, and we'd just laugh and go about our way. And I used to think that was true, that I would never retire. But there does come a point where, you start to slow down as you get older. I'll be hitting the big 50 this July. And you say, okay, there's got to be more than what this is. And so what I'm working on doing and have been working on doing is I'd really like to step out of the actual day-to-day real estate and more into a leadership and mentoring role. But it has been challenging because I struggle to find other people with that same work ethic. And so it leaves me kind of still in the day-to-day role. If I could get to that point in the next 10 years and really be kind of more the visionary and the planner and just the overseer of the business, by the time I'm 60, 10 years from now, that would be the ultimate for me. That would be exactly what I want to do. I don't want to be, still coming to the office and being here from 8 in the morning till 6 at night, 5 or 6 days a week. And that's just, I'm past that now. So yeah, I'm looking for talent always. Who I can mentor into the business. And it's funny, we went out to dinner last night, and my son, who is 16, is entering his senior year in high school. And my husband, my daughter used to say, I'll never do real estate, I'll never do real estate. And he was thrilled with that. And now my son, not knowing really what he wants to do, my husband's like, well, you could always go into mama's business and, be the next generation of the Kelly Fischer team. So it may happen. We'll see.
Yeah, I can share in your frustration. It seems like I think it's just I know how I do things, and you're probably the same way, that you do things a certain way, you have a certain passion behind it, and to be able to find that in somebody else that you could mentor them up so the job gets done to your standards is very frustrating.
Very frustrating.
To build that out. So I guess kind of on top of that, from maintaining from a growth standpoint, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so that you can have continual growth?
For me, the critical part of my growth here in the market that I'm in now, since I've been here for 12 years, it's just been becoming known as the person in your market who is the expert, the person who is likable, who gets the job done, who has the track record of results, and who time and time again, if the same client comes back to that agent, that they're going to continually have the same result and the same experience each and every time, and that they're comfortable referring their friends, family, everyone they know to them, and know that they're also going to have the same experience.
Excellent. And I think sometimes when it comes to real estate agents, the marketplace looks at them in a certain fashion. I don't think everybody really understands everything you do on a day-to-day basis, from taking care of your sellers, taking care of your buyers, everything from start to finish to closing a deal out. So can you talk a little bit about what you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent is?
When you say people, I guess that depends if a buyer or a seller. Overall, I think they have the belief that it's going to cost them more money. Now, of course, from a buyer perspective, I don't think many buyers think that. They may not know, though. I mean, every time I have a conversation with someone who's never been involved in a real estate transaction, it's always kind of interesting to me to hear the things that they think about doing business with a real estate agent that they just, since they've never done it, they have no idea what to expect. And so it always kind of takes me back to the beginnings, like, oh, you've never done this. Okay, I've done it 2,000 times. Let me explain. kind of funny. And with sellers, same thing. I mean, how many sellers say, oh, I'm going to sell my house myself, and they don't even think about that it's actually going to cost them way more than it's going to save them. So it's just, I think the cost thing is what people get hung up on. Because, and truly what I always tell clients is, look, honestly, it's not costing you anything until we get to a closing table, right? I mean, I'm working for free, so there really is no risk.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I honestly hadn't even thought of that, and I think you're the first person to say that yeah, you're not getting paid until you actually get to that closing, and the papers are signed.
That surprises me. With all the radio interviews, nobody's ever said that before?
I'm really shocked. Not looking back, like I said, we're number 87 here, and not one person I don't think has ever said, I'm basically working for you for free, or I don't get paid until the deal is done and everybody's signed off on it.
Well, right.
So,
and what other professional can that be said about? You cannot hire an attorney without writing a check. You cannot hire a doctor without at least signing some stuff that they know their insurance is going to pay for. You can't go to see a fitness professional without hiring them. Honestly, I think it's probably the reason that our profession has not elevated beyond where it was in the public's eye, because buyers and sellers have no skin in the game. And so they equate us. They don't see the value that we have because we don't make them grasp the value, and we don't monetize our value.
Yeah, you're right. There's no upfront fee. There's no fee there. Like you said, when you go to a lawyer, you're going to pay a retainer.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to anybody else, you're going to pay that up front. So there's perceived value of, okay, it's $500 just to talk to this person versus, oh, hey, you're free, really. But then when we get to the closing table, like, oh, wait a minute, but you charge this big commission. Well, yeah, I also spent a lot of that on marketing and running around, and I spent hours upon hours making sure that we closed this and got you the highest, possible prices possible.
Well, and in that same vein, I mean, how many people would go into the hospital, have open heart surgery, survive the surgery, recover, and then go to the doctor and say, oh, yeah, you said that it was going to be $120,000. Can you make that $80,000? I mean, nobody's going to do that. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
But they don't think twice about doing it to realtors.
Yeah, it doesn't, and I think, like you said, it's just from the front end relationship, because there's no, versus if they just had to pay a fee up front, then maybe they could actually see the value of everything you bring to the table. So, a lot of times I think you have to overcome that. You have to really show what value you do bring in order to justify, 6-7%, for a commission structure.
Exactly.
So, Kelly, let's say you get a call from a family member. They're in another state. They want to sell their home. Now, obviously, with the amount of time you've been in real estate, you have a lot of connections. You have a network. You could probably look up people and make referrals. But from a general advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of like how you talk about taking care of your clients. What would you tell them to look for?
It's funny because I was going to answer the question with the whole, I would find 3 agents and I would interview them myself. So your question is, what are the questions?
Most of the good agents like yourself have a network and they have that ability, but we're looking for, from a general public standpoint, the advice on and what you tell somebody to look for to select an ideal agent.
Well, obviously, to me, experience is critical. How long have you been in the business? And, of course, that's not the only question, because let's face it, there are a lot of agents in the business that, that have a license, shall we say, that sell 1 or 2 or 3 properties a year. So longevity is not necessarily the answer. The question is, have they reached a level of mastery where they're doing a lot of transactions for a lot of years, so that they really do have a firm grasp on what it's going to take, whether buying or selling? Second question, what kind of support structure do you and or your team, staff have? Because that's important. I know a lot of agents, they are just kind of jack of all trades doing everything. So they'll go out and they'll list the property, they'll put up the sign, they'll take their own pictures, then they have to enter it into the MLS themselves. I mean, there's just not enough hours in the day. The business has changed so much. I don't see how any agent can just be an agent without staff under them successfully. So I'd want to know what their structure looks like, and kind of, I guess I'd want to know what kind of schedule they follow. What is your day-to-day look like, and how tight do you adhere to that schedule? And how do you handle just managing your life? And because you have to have that if you are truly a successful agent. And maybe what time do you get up in the morning? Because, to me, anyone who's sleeping past 6 probably would not be my choice.
All right, excellent
Is that
advice
bad?
for everybody to listen to.
Is that bad?
No, not at all.
Person?
That's, some people. I tend to be myself. I'm more of I don't get up at 6. I get up a little later, but I'm more of I'll push into the evening, so I'll work a lot later myself. So I guess it depends. But
that's one of those things I got from Dad.
So, Kelly, if somebody's looking for real estate services or an agent in obviously the Vero Beach area, what is the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Well, we've got a whole host of places where people can look at our business and what we do for our clients. I have a video blog that is kind of education in nature, also has some testimonials on there and things like that. So they can go to kellyfisherteam.tv. You could always go to the major portals, the Zillow.com, Realtor.com, Trulia.com. Lots and lots and lots of client reviews on there, which we're very proud of because we work hard to keep our clients happy and then ask them to document their experience. And, of course, just my main website, kellyfisherteam.com, which is also kellysoldmyhome.com. And they can call us in the office, 772-539-7706.
Excellent. Well, Kelly, we obviously want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to come and share all of your real estate professional experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Kelly, obviously you can go to any of her sites that she mentioned. Also below this video, we'll have a link to any of her sites or the contact information that we have so you guys can reach out and connect with her and see if you guys would be a good fit to work together. So with all that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.